Have you ever wondered what someone really says about you when you're not in the room? Not just gossip or small talk, but the secrets that could change everything you thought you knew about yourself. There's a hidden side to some people, especially narcissists, that almost no one sees. They don't just talk about you, they shape your reality behind your back. What they say isn't random, it's calculated, designed to make you doubt your worth, question your memories, and even rewrite your story without you knowing it. But here's the catch: the moment you find out what's really being said, the moment you see through the disguise, is the moment everything starts to change. If you're ready to uncover the truth they don't want you to know, then keep watching. Because what's coming next will open your eyes in ways you never expected. Narcissistic personality disorder is not just a mouthful, it's a mindset that rewrites reality in favor of the one who holds the pen. They need control. They need admiration. They need to be seen as the hero of the story. So when you're not in the scene, they edit your lines. They misquote your intentions. They insert themselves as the victim and you're cast as the villain. See, I've learned it. Sometimes the louder someone brags about being real, the more fake they actually are behind closed doors. And when you step away from that energy, when you don't give them what they crave, they go quiet in front of you, but loud behind your back. Because narcissism isn't just a trait. It's a survival mechanism wrapped in insecurity and coated with charm. But here's where it gets dangerous. The emotional abuse doesn't always come with yelling. Sometimes it comes with silence, with erasing your contributions, with twisting your kindness into weakness. And they'll do it so subtly, you'll second guess your own memory. Now, why do they do that? Because your growth threatens their illusion of superiority. Your peace disturbs their chaos. You outgrew and now they're uncomfortable not with you, but with their own lack of evolution. You became a mirror they don't want to look into. And the worst part is they don't just try to control the way you feel about them. They try to control the way others see you too. But here's the truth I need you to hold on to, and this is something it took me years to learn. You are not obligated to shrink so someone else can feel tall. You are not responsible for the lies told about you when you were no longer present to defend the truth. Let's say that again. You are not responsible for their narrative. Now, if you've ever wondered what they're saying, when you're not there, if you've lost sleep replaying conversations or analyzing that tone, I've got something coming up in this video that will shift your perspective in a powerful way. Because this ain't just about spotting narcissism. This is about breaking free from emotional abuse. It's about building a growth mindset that makes manipulation irrelevant. It's about reclaiming your power. You stay with me through this, and you're not just going to hear the truth. You're going to feel it. Let's break it down. A narcissist doesn't just want attention. Nah, they need it like oxygen. Not just from you, from everyone in the room. But here's the tricky part. They don't want to earn that admiration. They want to extract it. They want to feed on your approval like it's their entitlement. And the moment you stop giving it to them, that's when the mask slips. You ever notice how someone can be the sweetest person in public, kind of like a Hallmark movie in human form? The minute you don't play their game, the energy shifts. That charm gets weaponized. Suddenly you're too sensitive or overreacting. Let me tell you what that is. That's emotional manipulation in disguise. Narcissists build narratives like magicians pull off tricks. They distract you with one hand while the other hand hides what's really going on. They'll smile at you while planting seeds of doubt about you in someone else's ear. Why? Because in their mind, people aren't people. People are pawns. They want to own the room. But if they can tone you, they'll try to discredit you. Now, I've been there, in the spotlight, in the silence. I've seen how quickly people rewrite stories to protect their ego. I've seen the way an narcissist flips the script and starts acting like you hurt them, when all you did was protect your peace. Let's talk about that silence they use. They don't just ghost you, they ghost reality. You ask a question, they'll deflect. You'll try to connect, they'll withdraw. But later they're telling mutual friends how crazy you've been acting. And the worst part, they do it with a straight face, like it's concern. I'm just worried about them. Translation, let me control the way people see them before the truth gets out. See, one of the most damaging tactics of emotional abuse is covert reputation sabotage. It's subtle, it's quiet. It's like a slow leak in your tire. You don't notice it until your momentum's gone. That's why this is not just about calling out the narcissists. It's about calling yourself up. Because healing starts when you stop arguing with people committed to misunderstanding you. When you realize your worth isn't a debate. When you understand that being misunderstood by someone who chooses to misinterpret you, that's not your failure. That's their projection. And if you've been stuck in that cycle, the gaslighting, the guilt trips, the backhanded compliments, then this is your turning point. You need to know the difference between feedback and emotional warfare. Because feedback wants growth, but emotional warfare wants compliance. And listen, an narcissist doesn't want to love you. They want to possess you. That's why when you try to grow spiritually, mentally, emotionally, they'll mock it. They'll say things like, oh, so now you think you're better than everyone. You're acting different lately. Who even are you anymore? What they really mean is, I can't manipulate you the way I used to, and that makes me feel insecure. But this is where your power lies. When you stop explaining yourself to people committed to distorting your words. When you stop accepting guilt for choosing peace over chaos. When you start walking in your truth, even if that means walking away from their storyline. Because there's a piece that hits different when you stop entertaining the characters in someone else's delusion. And I'll be real with you, not everyone can handle your healing. Not everyone benefits from your evolution. A narcissist would rather smear you than release you. Why? Because if they let you go, they lose the character they created. Scapegoat. The ungrateful one. But you're not a character in someone else's drama. You're the author of your own growth. To go deeper, because in the next part, we're going to talk about the subtle traps narcissists use to pull you back into psychological tricks, the guilt loops, and how to recognize them before you get caught again. Stay locked in, because this knowledge, it's not just protection, it's transformation. Let's talk about the combat, not yours, but theirs. Because when an narcissist feels you slipping away, they don't let go. Oh no, they circle back, like clockwork, like a late night text that hits different but carries the same poison. They'll show up charming, apologetic, even self-aware. You'll hear things like, I've been thinking about us. I know I made mistakes, but I've changed. I just want to clear the air. But that's not healing. That's bait. They're not apologizing for your peace. They're negotiating for access. And the moment you let them back in, that same mold cycle kicks off like a rear and you've already cried through. See, narcissists use emotional baiting the same way magicians use distraction to keep your eyes off the truth. They'll mix praise with criticism, just enough sweetness to soften you up, and just enough sting to keep you questioning your worth. It's psychological warfare dressed in flattery. They'll do something called hovering, sucking you back into their drama vacuum with promises, nostalgia, and I miss how we used to be. But that used to be was just them on their best behavior while mapping out the ways they could slowly own your self-esteem. And let's not ignore the guilt trap. You set a boundary, they say you're selfish. You speak your truth, they say you're dramatic. You pull back, they play the victim. Listen closely, they don't hate your boundaries. They hate that you finally have some. because boundaries to a narcissist feel like rejection, and rejection to them is an insult to their delusion of control. This is why narcissists never truly let you go. Even after you walk away, they'll monitor your life from the sidelines. They'll plant seeds of doubt in mutual circles. And if you glow up, if you grow emotionally, mentally, spiritually, they'll resent that. And not because you hurt them, but because you proved they weren't essential to your becoming. Let's pause right there and think about someone you may know, maybe a colleague, a relative, or even someone from your past relationships. You ever notice how they always had a story that made them look good, but someone else look worse? Every situation they were the misunderstood genius or the poor victim. Now look back. How many times were you the villain in their story? It's always you who changed. You who turned cold. You who walked away. But they never talk about the lies, the manipulation, the silent treatment, the belittling comments that chipped away at your spirit. You want to know why they smear you when you leave? Because your absence is louder than their excuses. Your healing exposes their abuse. Your confidence exposes their insecurities. Your freedom threatens their control. So what do? They start whisper campaigns. They try to erase your version of the story before you get a chance to tell it. It's not about the truth, it's about controlling perception. But don't panic. That's a sign you've already won. Because the moment someone has to lie to feel powerful, they've already lost their grip on reality. And the moment you stop responding to manipulation, you've taken your power back. Let's bring it closer to home. There's someone right now, maybe even watching this video, who's been questioning their instincts. You felt crazy, guilty, uncertain, but deep down, you know something wasn't right. That's not paranoia. That's your soul refusing to be gaslit any longer. Growth mindset means this: you don't just escape. You evolve. You take what you've learned, and you build armor made of insight, not bitterness. You stop seeing emotional abuse as your shame, and you start recognizing it as their pattern. You don't need revenge. You need healing, because peace is the loudest clap back. Now in the next part, we're about to walk into the real transformation. How do you rebuild yourself after narcissistic abuse? How do you rewire your mind, not just to survive, but to thrive? Because this next part isn't about them anymore. It's about you. Let's talk about the after. Because when you finally walk away from a narcissist, when you shut that door and the silence hits, it doesn't feel like freedom right away. Let's be real. It feels confusing. It feels empty. You start second guessing everything. Not just what they said, but what you believed. That's the residue of emotional abuse. It doesn't leave bruises. It leaves questions. You wonder, was I too much? Was I not enough? Did I really make things worse? Let me stop you right there. You didn't overreact. You finally reacted. See, narcissists are master illusionists. They don't just twist your image in the eyes of others. They twist your reflection in your own mind. That's the psychological trap. They dismantle your identity one compliment, one insult, one gaslight at a time. And when they're gone, you're left holding the pieces, trying to figure out which ones are even yours. But here's the shift, and this is where your growth mindset has to kick in hard. That confusion you're feeling, that's not weakness, that's awakening. It means you're no longer hypnotized. It means your mind is trying to rewire the lies into truth. That's your soul waking up from the coma of manipulation. Now, the healing doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't come from a quote on Instagram. It comes from doing the slow work, the internal work. The I don't need closure from them because I'm giving myself peace type of work. Let me give you something personal. There was a moment in my own life, I won't name names, but someone close to me tried to convince me and my boundaries were an attack. That my self-respect was ego. that my silence meant guilt. And for a while I believed it, because when someone you trust rewrites the truth, you don't fight them. You fight yourself. But I had to learn the difference between guilt and conditioning, because guilt will say you did something wrong, but conditioning will say you are something wrong. And if you've been in that kind of emotional cage, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. But here's the good news. You don't need to be perfect to be free. You just need to be present. Present with your pain, present with your progress, present with the uncomfortable truth that healing is messy and nonlinear. And let's not forget, narcissistic abuse isn't always romantic. It can be a friend, a boss, a parent, anyone who uses love as leverage, anyone who conditions you to believe that their approval is something you have to earn instead of something that should be given freely. If you've ever had to walk on eggshells, censor your emotions, rehearse conversations in your head before speaking you want in a relationship, you were in a performance, and now it's time to drop the script. This is the moment you take the pen back. This is where your story starts sounding like you again, not the echo of their criticisms, not the leftover fear in your nervous system. That's you. Real, honest, messy, brilliant you. Here's something practical. Start small. Speak your truth even when your voice shakes. Set a boundary even if it disappoints someone. Give yourself credit even if no one claps, because self-respect is built like muscle. It grows through repetition, through failure, through moments of doubt followed by moments of deciding anyway. And don't rush the process. Growth is not about racing some polished version of yourself. It's about rebuilding your foundation so that no one, and I mean no one, can knock you over with guilt ever again. Now listen, it's okay if some days you miss the narcissists. It's okay if some days the silence feels louder and the chaos did. That doesn't mean you're broken. That means you're healing. You're detoxing from emotional addiction. You're rewiring your attachment to people who only loved you when you were useful. And that's a spiritual awakening, my friend. It's you finally stepping out of their shadow and realizing the sun was always on your side. You just had to turn and face it. In the next part, we're going even deeper. How do you stay free? How do you guard your spirit from being manipulated again, not with anger, but with wisdom? Because the final transformation doesn't come from what you leave behind. It comes from what you walk into. Oh, all right, now we're at the place where the real victory happens. You see, escaping narcissistic abuse isn't just about walking away, it's about learning how to never get caught in that trap again. Because here's the truth, the world is full of people who want something from you. Some will love you, some will try to use you, and some, the narcissists, will try to steal your identity if you let them. But you're smarter than that now. You've been through the fire. You felt what it's like to be gaslit, manipulated, and silenced. And you've chosen growth over grievance. It's powerful. And now, staying free means building what I call emotional immunity. Imagine it like a shield not made of armor that isolates you, but a shield crafted from self-awareness, boundaries, and emotional honesty. First, know your worth. Not because someone tells you, but because you decide it. Your value doesn't fluctuate with someone else's opinion. Your worth isn't up for negotiation. Second, recognize the red flags early. When someone starts to disrespect your time, ignore your boundaries, or dismiss your feelings, pay attention. It's not about judging people harshly. It's about respecting yourself fiercely. Third, invest in your mental and spiritual health. Meditate, pray, journal. Whatever your method, find a way to connect with your inner voice, the one that isn't distorted by others' noise. That's your compass. That's your guide back to you. Fourth, surround yourself with people who lift you up, not people who pull you down. There's a difference between challenge and harm. Good friends challenge you to grow. Toxic people challenge your peace. You get to choose who stays in your circle. Now let me tell you about a man I once met, a true powerhouse who survived a lifetime of emotional abuse but refused to let it define him. He didn't get angry or bitter. Instead, he rebuilt himself quietly, one day at a time. He practiced forgiveness not for them, but for his own peace. And that's the kind of strength you want. The strength that comes from knowing you're unbreakable because you faced the darkness and chose to step into the light anyway. So if you're listening right now and you feel weighed down by the past, remember this: your story isn't over. Every step you take away from emotional abuse is a step toward your true freedom. You're not just surviving, you're thriving. And as you grow, you inspire others to do the same. That's why we do what we do here at Wisdom Recorder, your knowledge source. To remind you that your power isn't just in escaping toxicity, it's in embracing your growth, your truth, your unstoppable self. If this message hit home, do yourself a favor, hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because the more we spread this truth, the fewer people will suffer in silence. Keep your head high, keep your heart strong, and remember your peace is non-negotiable.